What you're going to be shown how to do in this tutorial is how to take a high poly sculpted mesh that's over 400,000 triangles and then use retopology techniques to lower that geometry down to a mesh that has between 20 and about 25,000 polygons. With a mesh that is that low, you should be able to use this mesh for animation work. As you work your way through the tutorial, you'll be shown how to do the entire process of body retopology. You'll be shown how to retopologize the entire torso, as well as more complicated retopology techniques like the hands. You'll also be shown how to use UV maps to set up normal maps. Set up a normal map. You'll be shown how to use, as well as work with an ambient occlusion. You'll also be shown how to use a combined color texture map to make your lower polyed mesh look as detailed as possible. As I take you through the tutorial, I try to not only explain what I'm doing, but why I'm doing what I'm doing. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and I hope that you enjoy it. Hi, this is Ali Arango of LittleGuyCGI.com. Today I'm going to show you how to retopologize a female body in Blender 2.90. So let's get started. What you see in front of you is the result of some other tutorials. I'll put links so you can get to those. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're currently in rendered view. We're going to go to solid view. This is in the upper right hand corner where I'm working. I'm going to left click to go to solid view. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to press the N key to take away the menu that was just to my right there. Okay, I'm going to select the objects that I want to move out of the way to make retopologizing the body easier. So I'm going to select these objects, then press H to hide them. That's what I'm doing now. Using the hand to pan up. You can also hold Shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan. I'll select the hair, then hide that as well. Okay, currently we're in object mode. If you look to your upper left, you can see that. We also have our 3D cursor in the center of our scene. This is important because in Blender, where the 3D cursor is at, it's where objects tend to come into Blender at. If by some chance your cursor is not in the center of your scene, you can hold Shift, then press C, which will put the 3D cursor in the center of your scene. Okay, we want to bring in a plane. So to do that, we're going to hold Shift, press A. This brings up our Add To menu. We're going to go to Mesh, then Plane. So here is the plane that we brought in. You can see it getting right to the 3D cursor. What we want to do now is go to our upper left and go to Edit Mode. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and rotate the view. Here in edit mode, this little orange dot right here, this is the origin point of the object. When you move the object in object mode, the origin point will move. When you go into edit mode, the origin point will stay in the same position. So we are in edit mode, so this origin point will stay in the same position. I'm going to push the plane out. Now I'm going to go to the upper left. We have vertex select, edge select, as well as face select. I'm going to go to this button here so we can go to vertex select. I'm then going to go to mesh, merge, and then select at center. So what I did was I merged the geometry down to one vertex. Okay, from that one vertex, that's how we're going to build up our geometry. We're going to go to our upper left, go to object mode. We're still selected on that one vertex. Currently, this is named plane.002. We'll name this body retopology. We're also going to go to the middle part of our upper screen. This is very important. We're going to turn on this, turn on snapping in Blender. When I hover over this, you can see that it says snap. So we select that magnet that turns on snapping. Snapping allows geometry to snap to the geometry that's next to it. And that's one of the main things we're going to use. We're going to use other techniques as well, but that's one of the main techniques we're going to use as far as doing retopology. We're also going to go to this triangle next to the magnet to make sure we have face on, as well as project individual elements. So you definitely want to make sure you have a check mark here. Okay, with this body retopology object selected, we're going to go back to the upper left, go back to edit mode. I'm going to hover my mouse to the side of the head, hold shift, press B to draw a zoom box. Let us zoom in. Here's the one vertex right there. I'm going to select the hand to pan down. So what I'm going to do with this one vertex that I have selected is I'm going to push this down to this part of the chest. So there's the vertex, right? So when I rotate, this isn't, is it? Oh, okay, it is sticking. So when you take the move tool, the vertex will stick to the geometry underneath of it. I'm going to go back to object mode. This right here, this project individual elements, just so you understand, this is the main thing that's making the object that's our body retopology stick to the mesh, the sculpted mesh that you can see underneath of it. So this is very important. I'm going to go back to our upper left, back to edit mode. So whenever you need something to snap, you can typically press G, or you can take your move tool, then move the geometry. It'll then snap to where it needs to be. So this should, as I move this one vertex up as well as down with this should snap right to what you see here. So when I say what you see here, I mean the sculpted geometry that is the body right here. This is a separate object from this right here, which is this vertex. So we're going to use this vertex to go over the sculpted geometry to make our retopology. Okay, in Blender, there's all kinds of ways to assist you as far as making retopology. What we're going to use typically is we're going to use a lot anyways. We're going to have the vertex selected. I'm going to move my mouse to where I want a vertex to be extruded to. I'm going to hold control and then I'm going to right click. And when I did that, there was a vertex extruded down. So now we have an edge here. And that was just by holding control and then right clicking. Now that we have that, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edge select. Now select this edge. So I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate. Now I'm going to hold control. Then I'm going to right click. Now when I right clicked, right, I let go of control. We can see that like the geometry came out to here, right? Not only did it come out to the side, it also angled itself up, which is extremely useful. So I've rotated the view, right? So when you're doing retopology, it's almost like you're aiming often where you want the topology to go. So when I rotate the view, I can adjust the angle. So I kind of hold the middle mouse button to rotate to where I think about how I want the geometry to be extruded, as well as how I want it to be rotated. Once I have the angle, I line up my cursor, and then I'll hold control, like I'm doing now, and then I right click. So now I have my other geometry, come out right to where I want it to be. Okay, one of the things as we work through doing this, you can see you can kind of see the geometry. You can kind of not see it. For the most part, you want to be able to see the geometry. So we're inside of the object called body retopology. So what we're going to do is go to the menu towards the right, square, looks like a square, your object properties. You want to go down to viewport display. If you don't see it, you can select a triangle to open up the viewport. And then you want to put a check mark next to in front. When you do this, you'll be able to clearly see the retopology work that you're working on. Okay, the way that I'm showing you how to do this is my current way of doing this. I want to know there's multiple different ways of doing retopology. This is my way. I think it's fairly efficient, fairly quick. In saying that, the way we're going to do this is you want 2 faces for the right side of the body for the front. You want 3 faces to go around the shoulder. This is to start, is what I'm telling you this. And then 1 face on the back. And also letting you know like what we're going to be doing as we progress forward the next few steps. So 2 faces to the front, for the front of the side of the chest. 3 faces for the shoulder. 1 face going towards the back. And we're eventually going to put a mirror modifier on here that will connect these top pieces together. Once we have that geometry, we'll start working on more and building up our geometry more and more from there. Okay, these 3 pieces for the shoulder are going to be the 1 piece or face for the front, 1 face for the side, 1 face for the back of the shoulder. So I'm holding the middle mouse button to line up the view. The view is important because using this technique where we hold control then right click will set the angle of the face as well. So I have the angle that I want. When I say angle, I mean the visual angle, like what you're actually seeing on the screen. I'm going to hold control and then I'm going to right click. I could rotate this because I would like this to be more straight. I'm going to leave it how it is now. We can adjust that later. We'll also use some modifiers that will help the geometry to adjust even more later. So this is that front face that I was talking about. So we need 2 more pieces to the shoulder. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button. The second piece that we want is the side piece, right? So it seems to make sense to have a side view. I'm going to hold control, then right click. There's the side piece. Now I need the back piece or face. When I hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, I see this geometry. I don't want to have my current geometry snap to that geometry. So what I do is hold the middle mouse button, angle the view slightly down. So now I can aim right to here without selecting on there. So I'll hold control, right click. So now I let go of control. We have our back face to our shoulder. So now we need 1 more piece that's going to go all the way to the back. So I'm angling the view so that this isn't in the way. I'm going to take the manipulator, push this over more. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, keeping the angle of the way where this geometry isn't in the way. I'll hold control, then right click. Here's that back geometry here. So I had told you 2 faces for the front, 3 for the side, for the shoulder, 1, 2, 3, 1 for the back. So now you can see all the geometry there. So I'll left click to deselect. Actually, I'm going to go to the hand. When you left click on nothingness and you're on vertex on the edge select, Blender doesn't tend to deselect. If you're like, why do you deselect? A lot of times I like to know that I have nothing selected so I don't move something by accident. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to the upper left. So we're going to go to object mode. We're going to go to the, looks like the wrench. This takes us to our modifier panel. We're going to go to the arrow. Okay, the arrow. We're going to select mirror. So this is a mirror modifier. What this does is this basically makes a mirror of the work we're doing on this side to that side. So effectively, we're able to do half the amount of work that we normally would have to do. We're going to turn on this clipping. What this clipping does is keeps the mirrored part, which is this part, from separating from this part. We're going to select this triangle here. This makes this geometry look, for the most part, like this geometry. So with this mirror modifier now on this object, we're going to go to the upper left, go back to edit mode. We're going to go to edge select from the upper left. We'll select this edge. We'll push that towards itself. The clipping makes this come together in the center. We'll go to the back by holding the middle mouse button to rotate. I'll select here. Then I'll push the back together like that as well. I'm rolling the mouse wheel. Now I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to go back towards the front view. I'll go to, I'll hold Alt A to deselect. That's another way you can deselect geometry. Okay, I'm going to select this edge here. My manipulator's in the way. Sometimes to get this out of the way, I'll go to select box, mainly to move the manipulator out of the way. I'll hold shift. Shift allows you to select more than one piece of geometry at a time. So now I have these two edges here selected. I'm letting go of shift now. Okay, with those two pieces of geometry selected, I'm zooming back. Zooming back so I can see the rest of the body. With those two pieces selected, typically when I'm about to use control to extrude down, I'll move purposely away from the center. Just because sometimes the center can cause me issues. So I'm moving my mouse slightly to the side. I'm now holding control. I'm then going to right click. Okay, so we see the geometry crossed over, which I don't like. I'm going to go to the move tool to pull to the side. There we go. Okay, so now we have most of the upper torso covered. What we want to do now is hover over here. I'm going to hold control, press R. That puts a loop cut in. You can see the preview of the loop cut right there. I'm going to roll my mouse till I have 5 loop cuts. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to left click to lock in, left click a second time to lock in all of those loop cuts. So I'm going to left click on nothingness, deselect. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you want 7 rows to be here in the front. Okay, if you're like, why 7 rows? Why 7 rows? Exactly. It's because the way we're going to do certain things that I've set this up to make things faster. We need a certain amount of points or vertices to have things lined up. So that's why I'm saying 7 rows to the front. So things like that might seem like you're like, oh, that's kind of exact. I think you'll find that it actually speeds up what we're doing here. Okay, what we're doing now is we're on edge select, which is good. If you look here, you can see that this geometry is not, when we made it, it's not sticking to the front, right? So how do we deal with that? Well, you can see this very clearly from the side. The way we can deal with that is we'll go to the upper left, go to object mode. We'll go to our modifier panel. We'll select the arrow. Then we'll go to shrink wrap. So the shrink wrap modifier allows geometry causes geometry to wrap around other geometry. So we go to target. We select the target. We want the target to be the body. So now when you look, you can see that this geometry is not totally, but for the most part, snapping to the body. And the way that it's going right here, right now, the way that it's dodging the chest right now, this is actually what we want. This is going to make things faster for us right now. So this is good how that geometry is currently. Okay, we're going to select this triangle here. We're going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. We're going to hold the mouse button to turn to the side, go to vertex select. Now we are on vertex select. We'll select here, move this up slightly, left click on nothingness to deselect. We'll go to edge select, select this edge, hold shift so we can select more than one edge. So if I wasn't holding shift when I clicked here without shift, I would lose this selection. I'm holding shift, so I keep the selection. I'm letting go of shift. Think of this as the front. We need another side piece here. So we're going to hold control and then right click. So now we have this extra side piece, right? Okay, so now we have this back piece here. There's an issue in the sense that, well, there's not really an issue. See how this is, we don't want to snap to that. So I angle down. So now I can hover over this area without this geometry. I'll hold control, right click. Quite what I wanted. Let's see, can we fix this? There we go. So by moving the geometry around, I was able to get this to work better. I'll select the vertex here. Move that up slightly. Okay, I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button, rotate towards the back. We're going to go to edge select. I'm going to select this edge here, hold shift, and then select here. I'm going to let go of shift, then press F. Held shift so I can select both of those edges at the same time. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. See how we have these edge loops here? We need to make edge loops here that will match up to the edge loops here. I'm going to left click to deselect. So what I'm going to do is hover here, hold control, press R, left click once, move this down. I move that down to match up with this edge loop. Now I can see here, I'm going to put an edge loop here, hold control, press R, left click, move it down slightly. There's an edge loop here. I need to have one here. So I'll hold control, left click a second time to lock that in. Then I'll left click on nothingness to try to deselect. Okay, there's an add-on in Blender called the F2 add-on. If you go to Edit, User Preferences, Add-ons, put a check mark next to the F2 add-on. With that add-on, what you can do is I'll select here, hold Shift, select there. With those three edges selected, I'll press F. When I say add-on, by the way, it's something that's in the default version of Blender. It's not something you have to install. You just have to turn it on. The main thing that add-on does, it's really neat. I mean, it does a lot of things. I'll select here. See how there's the edge I'm selected on, then an edge here is where else here. Well, with the add-on, I can press F, and Blender knows that it assumes, I guess, that I want to fill this in. I want to fill this area in here as well, so I'll press F again. I'll left click to deselect. So yeah, that add-on makes it's very nice for filling in geometry. So now we have this space here open for the arm. Okay, we're going to go to the upper left to object mode. We're going to go to the wrench. We're going to go to the arrow to the right of the shrink wrap top options, select apply. We're then going to go to the middle of our upper screen, select the magnet to turn that snapping off. The reason why we did this is I'm about to bring in vertex mesh, well, mesh circle. I don't want that to be changed at all by the, for now anyway, by the shrink wrap modifier or snapping. I learned this from watching a Retopology time lapse of Pierrick Picard. If you want to learn more about this method, I like how he did this arm part. So I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Hold shift, right click. This puts the 3D cursor right there. Let go of shift. Where the 3D cursor is at in Blender is where objects tend to come into Blender at. I'm going to hold shift, press A. go to vertex select. Okay, here we go. Shift A, circle. There we go. So when I bring the circle in, the vertices are set for 32. I'm going to select here, change this to 12. With that done, I'm going to press R to rotate on the Y axis like this. Left click, hold them in the mouse button to rotate. This is too far forward, so I'll pull that back some. I held them in the mouse button, look towards the front. I'll press S to scale this down some. So I'm rotating around in 3D space, trying to basically place where this should go at. So what I'm going to do now is press E to extrude, bring this down to about the elbow level, left click. I'll push this so it's over the arm better. Holding them in the mouse button to go back towards the view to get a better view to pull this out. I'll press E to extrude, bring this down to around the wrist level. Rotate, you can see that this isn't placed correctly, so from the side we can see that somewhat better. I'll press S to scale this down some. Don't want it down too much. Move it up some. Now, left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. We want to make this more circular. To help with that, we're going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. See this lit up blue circle here? This is showing the proportional editing tool is on. The proportional editing tool allows you to move more than one vertex, edge, or face at a time. With that on, I'm going to select here, press G. See that circle? That circle shows the area of influence of the proportional editing tool. If I roll my mouse, I can take that up or down. I like the size of it now, so I'm pulling this way. I'm selecting here. My goal is to make this opening more circular. Better fit to have this attached. I'm going to left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold Alt A to totally disconnect or deselect. All right, so this is 12 vertices. How do we know this? We know this because we made this from 12 vertices. So we need to have this opening here match the 12 vertices here. How can we do that? Well, what we can do is we're about to go through this very quickly. We're going to put an edge loop here in the front, an edge loop here in the side, an edge loop here on the back. We're going to put an edge loop here. Then we're going to put another edge loop here to match up with that. Then we're going to put one edge loop here. When we're done with that, this should equal 12 vertices. That will then allow us to do bridge edge loops, which will connect these two pieces of mesh. Are you prepared? Let's do it. So hold Control, press R. Left click to lock that in. Hold Control, press R. Left click to lock that in. Hold them in the mouse button to rotate. Hold Control, press R. Left click to lock that in. Right here. Now notice we're adding vertices with these loop cuts all to this edge right here. Right? So if you're like, well, should you be here or here adding a loop cut? Well, if you add a loop cut here, you're not adding anything to here. So this is where you want it. So hold Control, press R. We need to equal this on the other side. So hold Control, press R. And then here, hold Control, press R. Now left click to deselect. Hold Alt A to totally deselect. Okay, before we join this up, what we're going to do is go to the upper left. We're going to go to object mode. We're going to go to our wrench. We're going to add a shrink wrap modifier. Make the target the body. We're going to go to the upper left, back to edit mode. We'll select this triangle so it looks like it's joined together. This right here, the statistics, if you go to the overlays in Blender 2.9, you put a check mark next to statistics, you'll see this. This is very useful. This is helpful for what we're doing. We need to know that we have 12 vertices here. We'll go to edge select. We'll hover here, hold Alt, left click. You can see that there's 12 vertices here, which is what we want. that matches up with the 12 vertices here. So we'll hold Alt, we'll hold Shift, left click here, then we'll hold Control, press E, and then select Bridge Edge Loops. So now we have these two pieces joined. We'll hold Control, press R, roll the mouse wheel once, left click, then left click a second time to lock that in. Then we'll left click on nothingness to try to deselect. Okay, when you're doing retopology, see how the spaces are here compared to like this long space here, this long space here. We're gonna hold Control, press R to even this out. Same thing here. As well as once we put this in, which we didn't do yet, watch what happens with the shrink wrap. See how, whoops, I've right clicked. See how this allows the shrink wrap to have the geometry follow the mesh more. What we also can do is go to vertex select, select everything, go down to smooth. So I like to use this. I'll also hold Control, press V. See this says smooth vertices. That's another option. I'll click here. I didn't do anything when I pressed that smooth vertices, by the way. When I select here, I can left click this, drag this to either side. Now what's going on is these vertices are getting smoothed out. This is very nice because it's interactive. You can pretty much see what's going on. This here is separating. Don't let that get to you. It's fairly easy to deal with. So we'll left click to deselect. I'm going to go to the, well, let's select here. I'm going to hold Control, then left click. I'm going to go to the Move tool. I'm going to push this geometry towards itself. We have the proportional editing tool still turned on. You can see that. I'm going to left click to deselect. I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Object Mode, go to the Shrink Wrap triangle, then select Apply. Shrink Wrap is very useful. I like to use the Shrink Wrap quite often. However, I like to apply it. And then when I need it again, bring it back and, I work with it that way. Okay, we're going to go back to Edit Mode. We're going to hover here, hold Control, press R, left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. We'll push this in slightly. What we're trying to do here is get this loop so we can bring this down so we can work on the lower part of the body. So we're going to go to Edge Select. We're going to select here, right? I'm going to hold Alt to select all of this. So this is angled up. We can make this straight, which I think makes things easier to work with. When I say straight, I mean not going up like this, then over like that. I mean like being like just level, I guess I should say. We'll press S to scale on the Z-axis 0, then left click to lock that in. Now you can see kind of what I mean there. So now we'll go back to here. I'm going to purposely hold, I'm going to hold Control, then right click, aiming away from the center. I'm going to bring this down, push that together like that. I want this to be 4 pieces. So here's piece 1. I'm going to press E to extrude, right click, drag this back like this. I'll push this down, bring this all the way back. There's 2 pieces, 1, 2. So now I'm going to press, see how this is like the shape of that? It's like the hand. So to make this straight, I'll press S to scale on the Y-axis 0. The Y-axis is like front to back, so when I press S to scale on the Y 0, this straightens that out. I'll press E to extrude, right click, bring this up like this. There's the 3rd piece. So now actually need to deselect, hold Control, press R, left click, move this slightly to the side, left click to deselect. I'll select here, then I'll hold Shift, I'll select here, then I'm going to press F to fill to connect that geometry. I'll left click to deselect, hold the middle mouse button to rotate back towards the front. Okay, this geometry here, I want to be lowered down some. So I'm going to select here, hold the middle mouse button to rotate, hold control, select there. That activated, when I held control, I used something called the shortest path technique. I selected here and then selected the back piece. All the geometry in between was selected. I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'll press G, roll my mouse wheel to increase the geometry. Move this down like that. I'll press S to scale on the Y-axis like this. Move this back. Then I'll left click to lock that in. I'll go to vertex select. So the shrink wrap modifier should make this come into play more. We need to have a loop cut here, here, as well as here, as well as here. We need 4 loop cuts. So we're going to hold control, press R, left click a second time to lock that in. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Hold control, press R, left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate, hold control, press R, left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. Hold control, press R, left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. So now left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'm going to go to the wrench, go to the triangle. I'm going to add a shrink wrap modifier on. I'll select the target, make the target be the body. I'm going to go to the arrow near the top of the shrink wrap modifier menu, select that, select apply. So we'll go back to edit mode. We'll zoom in here. I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. Adjust this. I'm going to turn off the monitor next on the mirror. I'll turn the monitor back on. Turn the monitor off so I can see what's going on here. Turn it off again. Okay, I see this here. Oh, here we go. Here, there we go. Hold the mouse wheel to zoom out. It's here in the front. I'll select here, hold shift, select here as well as here, push this down some to make that more even, then left click to deselect. Okay, we added these loop cuts because we need this to be 12. So we're going to go to edge select, we're going to hold alt, left click. Okay, this is 13 vertices, so we have one too many. The way we can deal with this is we can we'll hold alt, left click here, press X, then we'll choose dissolve edges. So now hold the middle mouse button to rotate back towards the front. Hold Alt, left click. We have 12 vertices. So why is that important? Well, what we're going to do now is hold Shift, press R. We did that to put the 3D cursor there. We'll hold Shift, press A. We'll bring in a mesh circle. We'll change this to be 12. That 12 should match up with this here. We'll press R to rotate on the Y axis like this. We'll press S to make this bigger. Then we'll go to Vertex Select, hold Alt, left click here, hold Shift. While holding Alt as well as Shift, select there, let go of Alt as well as Shift, hold Control, press E. This brings up our Edges menu. Then we'll select Bridge Edge Loops like that. So now with that done, we'll hold Alt, left click, press E to extrude, right click, push this down like this. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis 0 to straighten that out. Left click to lock that in. Press S to shrink this down. Left click to lock that in. Go towards the back. Pull this back like this. I'll select, hold Alt, left click here. Pull this back like that. Left click to deselect. I'll hold Alt, left click here. Push this down more towards the knee. Push this back. Press E, right click. Push this back. Then bring that back like that. Then left click to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go to the upper left. I'm going to go to Object Mode. Go to Add Modifier, select the Shrink Wrap modifier, select the target as our body, select the triangle, go back to the upper left, back to Edit Mode, rotate the view, hover here, hold Control, press R, left click once, left click a second time, hover here, hold Control, press R. I'm going to roll to put 3 loop cuts here, left click once, left click a second time. I'm going to hover here, hold Control, press R, roll twice, left click once, left click a second time. Left click to deselect. Okay, we're on Vertex Select. I'm going to press A to select all of our geometry. I'm going to go to the Smooth tool and then smooth out this geometry. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to zoom in, select hand to pan. I'm going to go to Face Select, select here, hold Shift. And I select the Move tool. So what I'm going to do here is press E to extrude, right click, press S to scale. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Object Mode. I'm going to go to the Shrink Wrap modifier, select the arrow, select Apply, go back to the upper left, go to Edit Mode. The reason why I did that is I want to be able to adjust what's going on here without the Shrink Wrap modifier trying to adjust with me. I'm going to go to Edge Select, zoom in, select here, hold Shift, select here as well, push this way, select here, hold Shift, select here, push this here. I'm going to select these two faces. I hold Shift to select the second face. Going to the side, I'm going to press E to extrude, right click. I'm going to push this out like this. I'm going to hold Control To put a Control R to put a loop cut in, roll once. Left click a second time to lock that in. Go back to face select. I'm going to select here. Press E to extrude, right click, press S to scale. E to extrude, right click, S to scale. Left click to deselect. Okay, I put a lot of geometry here since this is a round shape. We're going to use the shrink wrap modifier to make this match up better with our sculpted mesh. Once we do that, we'll see how this looks. If there's too much geometry, we'll take away some of the edges. So what we're going to do is go to the upper left, go to object mode. We're going to go to the arrow, add a shrink wrap modifier. Select the eyedropper, select the target, go to the arrow, apply the modifier. Now we'll go back to the upper left, back to edit mode. Okay, looking at this as it is, I do think I put too much geometry, so we can easily deal with this by holding Alt. We need to go to edge select first. So I'll select here, hold Alt, I'll hold Shift. Then I'll press X to bring up our delete menu. Then I'll choose dissolve edges. So dissolve edges allows you to remove geometry without having I would say, a negative effect. Okay, this is good for now. I left clicked on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper right, select the hand. We have edge select on. I'll hold Alt, left click. I'm going to press O to turn on our proportional editing tool. You can see the proportional editing tool was there. The proportional editing tool allows you to move more than one vertex, edge, or face at a time. I'm going to press G, pull this down. I'm going to roll the my mouse to stretch out the geometry. So when I stretch it out to about here. This is fine. I really don't want that being stretched out. So I'm selecting the hand. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, when I look at the legs, obviously these aren't right. If I go to, we're on edge select, I'm going to hold Alt, left click right on the knee. You can look to the left. You can see these are the statistics. You get to these by going to overlays, then putting a check mark next to statistics. We can see there's 12 vertices right here in this loop. I want to have the legs go from 12 to 10. So with this edge selected, I'm going to make sure that my mouse is underneath this edge. I'm going to press the V tool, which is rip. So I've ripped this geometry, which means I separated the geometry that was underneath this edge by pressing the V key. With that done, I'm going to go to the face select, hover over the geometry here, press L, then I'm going to press X to bring up my delete button, then select faces to delete. Okay, what I want to do here is reduce the geometry coming down. See these two faces right here? These are very important. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I'm going to look at these two faces, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm going to go to the edge here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control, then right click. So here's the edge. Now I want this edge to run this way. Currently the edge is running down. I'm going to press R, oops. I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. The proportional editing tool moves more than one vertex, edge, or face at a time. I'm going to press R to rotate. I'm doing this because I want this edge to go like this and then run that way. So now I'm going to look at these two faces, go past them to this edge. I'll select here. I'll hold Control, Alt, right click, and then I'm going to press R to rotate. Think of it as me aiming towards this loop here. I'll hold Shift, select there, and then I'll press F to fill. I'll Left click on nothingness to deselect. I'm going to select here, push this down, push this forward like this. Okay, I want these two loops to go in here. So what I'm going to do is hover here. I'll go to the select so you can see. This is a flat face here. So I want this to be able to take these two loops. So I'm going to hold Control, right click a second time. Now I can run this right here. Like this edge can go here, this edge can go here. Okay, with that done, I'll select here, hold Shift, select here as well as here. Then I'll press F to fill. I'll select here, hold Shift, select here as well as here, as well as here. Then I'll press F to fill. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm looking at here, right? I'm looking at this geometry here. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Vertex Select. I want to match up this vertex with these vertices so that they can run from here to here, okay? So I'm going to select here. I'm going to hold Control, then right click. Now I don't have the snapping tool on, which is important to remember. Hold Control, right click. So I'm looking here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. I'll hold Control. So I have that. So now I'll go to the upper left, go to Edge Select, hold Shift. Then I'll press F. Oh, it won't let me do it. Okay. F. I'm selecting the edges. F. I'll left click to deselect. I'm going to select the hand to move the view. We'll go to the upper left, go back to Vertex Select. Select here. I'm looking at here. Hold Control, press F. So now I'll go to Edge Select. Select here, as well as here, as well as here. Press F. Here, as well as here, as well as here. Press F. Now I'll select here, here, then press F. I'll then left click to deselect. Okay, I'll hold the mouse button to rotate. Okay, so the plan is for the shrink wrap modifier to make this go to the leg. Also for the geometry to be reduced right where the knee is at. So there's limited issues as far as the leg moving. That's why I chose to reduce the geometry right over the knee. Okay, we're on Edge Select. I'll select here, hold Shift, select here, let go of Shift, hold the mouse button, rotate. I'm going to hold Alt as well as Shift, and then left click here. I'm letting go of Alt as well as Shift. I selected the entire edge loop. So with that done, I'm going to press E to extrude, right click. Doesn't look like I did anything, but I made new geometry by pressing E to extrude. I'm going to go to the Move tool, push that new geometry down, press S to scale that new geometry out, pull it to the side some. Then I'm going to right click, go to Loop Tools, then select Circle. Take notice the vertices are now 10. So with this done, I'll press, let's pull this back some. I'll press E to extrude, right click, bring this down like this. Press S to scale. Move this over some, look to the side. That's the scale. I'm concerned about these two face loops. I want these facing forward for the most part. Okay, I want to rotate these faces more towards the front. I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. So I pull it down. I can roll the mouse wheel to increase the influence to make the geometry higher up, turn more towards the front. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift, press B, draw a zoom box to zoom in here. I'm going to go to the upper. Actually, let's make this smaller while we have this selected. I'm going to press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. Press S to make this smaller, this being that edge loop there. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode, turn on snapping, come back to the upper left, go back to edit mode. I want to select these two faces here in the front. The manipulator's in the way, so I'm going to go to the select tool. Mainly to move the manipulator out of the way, I'll hold Shift. With the snapping tool on, I hold the middle mouse button to arrange my view. I want these two edges to extrude out to about here, so I move the mouse to about here, hold Control, and then I right-click, let go of Control. I want them to extrude now to about here. I'll hold Control, right-click. Excellent. I'll left-click to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is hover here, hold Control, press R, roll the mouse wheel one time, left-click a second time to lock that in, hold Alt, left-click, oops, face select we want, left-click, press X to bring up our delete menu, choose faces to delete. The reason why we're doing this is we want to use the mirror modifier to work so that whatever work you do on this side is done on this side. To do that, we're going to have to make this its own separate object. At least that's how we're going to do it. I don't know if we have to do that. That's how I'm choosing to do it. I'm going to hover here, press L, press P. This brings up our separate menu. I'll choose selection. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode, select here, go to object, set origin. Then I'm going to choose origin to geometry. I'll go to the upper, I went to the upper left and edit mode. I'll select A to select everything, turn off clipping, go to the move tool, pull this to the side, so I'll select here, hold Shift, press C for paint select, press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. Effectively, what I'm doing, I'm deleting the one half of this side. So I'll press X, then choose faces to delete. Okay, we need to turn off snapping. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode, turn off snapping. I go to object mode to turn off snapping. You don't have to do that. I choose to do that. I'm going to go to clipping. So I've turned on clipping by putting a check mark there. I'm going to press A to select everything. I'm going to push this geometry towards itself. I'm going to go to edge select. Select here, push this edge towards itself. Select here, push that edge towards itself. Left click to deselect. Go to phase select. I pressed A. Okay, so now I'm going to hold Alt, left click, push that down some, then left click to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do is go to the upper left, go to object mode, turn on snapping, go back to the upper left, go to edit mode, go to vertex select. I'm going to select, I'm looking at these two faces, this edge right on the side here, I'm selecting there. I'm thinking I want faces that come down like this, and then another row of faces that go like that. So with that edge selected, I'm going to hold Control, right click, right click, right click. The reason why I let go of control, the reason why I chose the vertex select is it's easier for me to picture the faces in my mind for vertex select. That's why I chose the vertex instead of edge. I'm going to hold control. To do something very similar. All right, so now we need faces to go this way, right? So we'll select here. This is in the way, so I'll go to the upper left, go to the select box, hold control, hold the mouse button, rotate, hold control. Now, I am purposely going to geometry that is not over itself. I'm using the angle to do that, to try to do that. So there's like right here, there's like there's just like that other geometry. So I let go of control, matching that up with that. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Control, control. I'm looking up there. Control. So I'll left click. Now I'll go to edge select. I'll select this edge. Hold shift, select this edge, as well as this edge. I'll press F to fill. Left click to deselect. I'll go to the upper left. Go to object mode, turn off snapping. Go back to edit mode. I'll select here. Hold shift, select here. Then I'll press F to fill. Then left click to deselect. Okay, we're on edge select. Holding the mouse button to rotate. I'll roll the mouse button to zoom in. I'll select here, hold shift, select here. There we go, select there, press F to fill. I'll select here. Hold shift, select here, as well as here. Then press F to fill. I'll select here, then press F to fill. Okay, I'll select here. Hold shift, then press here. Let go of shift, press F to fill. I'll select here, press F. I'll select here, then press FF. I've rotated to see what's going on. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'll hold them in the mouse button, rotate. I'll select here, as well as, actually, what I'll do is I'll go to vertex select. Select here, hold shift, press D, right click, go to the upper left to the move tool, select there, select here, hold shift, select here, as well as here, hold the mouse button, rotate, select here, press F to fill. I did this because center lines make me nervous, so I'll select here, hold shift, press D, right click. Center lines, particularly, I should say center lines when dealing with the mirror modifier, so I'll select here. This is in the way, so I'll go to the upper left to the select box. I went here just to move the manipulator out of the way. I'll hold shift, select here as well as here. Then I'll press F to fill. I'll select here, go back to the upper left. The move tool, use the mirror modifier's clipping to have these vertices joined. Then I'll left click to deselect, roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, I want this line here to be straight, so what I'll do is I'll go to the upper left, go to edge select, hold Alt, left click, press, actually I'll push this down some like this. Then I'll press S to scale on the Z-axis 0, then left click. Excellent. We'll zoom back, left click to deselect. Okay, I'll go to the upper left, go to vertex select, hold the mouse button, rotate, select here, hold shift, press D, right click, push this vertex over, hold shift, press D, right click, push this vertex over short of the center line. I'll select here, hold shift, select here, here, as well as here. With those selected, I'll press F. I'll select here, hold shift, select here, here, as well as here. Press F to fill. I'll select this vertex, then push this towards the center line. Then I'll left click to deselect. Okay. I'll hold Alt, then press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to phase select. We'll select here. Hold Shift. Hold the mouse button and move to the side so we can see where this is. We can push this beyond that. We'll left click to deselect. Go to the upper left, go to object mode. Here in object mode, I'm going to go to mirror, the arrow, select apply. With this selected, I'll hold Shift, then select this. I'll then hold Control, then press J. So now this is one object again. With this, I'll go to the upper left, then go to edit mode. Okay, I'm going to go to edge select, hold Alt, select here, still holding Alt. Now I'm holding Shift, I'll select here. I let go of Shift as well as Alt. I'll hold Control, press E. This brings up our edges menu, our edge menu, I should say. We'll select Bridge Edge Loops. Then I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to select here, which lets me rotate around what I'm selecting. And by the way, I don't show this too often. If I go to Edit, Preferences, typically when I work in Blender, I have this check mark selected, orbit around selection. This tends to help me, I think, a lot as I model. So when I have object selected, I can rotate around the object. Anyway, I held the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to vertex select. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking for quads. Just roll the mouse wheel. So I'm going to select here, hold Shift, press D, then right click. Push that vertex out. I'm going to go to the select box in the upper left. Mainly just to move the manipulator out of the way. I'm going to hold Shift to select here, as well as here, as well as here. There's 4 vertices there, so I'll press F to fill. Then I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to select here. Hold Shift, press D, right click. I'm looking at this vertex right there. I'll go to the upper right, left click on the zoom button, then do a smooth zoom to zoom in. I'll go to the move tool. I'll hold Shift, press D, right click. Push this vertex. I'm looking at this one over here. Kind of difficult to see. Hold Shift, press D, right click. Pushing this up to match here. There's another vertex there. Hold Shift, press D, right click. Push that up to meet that one there. So I'm rotating the view so I can see the closer vertices. So I'll select here, hold Shift, select here, here. There we go, as well as there. I'll press F to fill, select here, hold Shift, select there, there, press F to fill. I'll select here, hold Shift, select here, here, as well as here. I'll press F to fill. I'll then select here, hold Shift, select here, here, as well as here. I'll press F to fill, then I'll wait a second. Okay, so this is the center. So I can see that this is not right. So I'll select here, press X, choose faces to delete. So I'm going to hold Control, press R, put a loop cut. here. So now I'll go to, I'm on edge select, so I'll select here, hold shift, select here. Held the middle mouse button just to make sure I was selecting the right edge. I'll hold shift, select here, press F to fill. I'll select here, hold shift, select here, here, press F to fill. Then I'll left click to deselect, or try to deselect anyway. I'll go back to vertex select. So now I'm deselected. Okay, what we're going to do now is select here, hold shift, select here, here, as well as here, then press F to fill. Now what's nice here is we can select here, hold shift, select here, here, let go of shift, hold shift, press D, right click, push these vertices out like that. I'm going to left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to edge select. Select here. Actually, I'll select a select to get the manipulator out of the way. I'll hold shift. Select here. Press F to fill. Select here. Hold shift. Select here. F to fill. Select here. Hold shift. Select here. Press F to fill. Here. Here, as well as here. F to fill. Here. Hold shift. Select here. F to fill. Here. Hold shift. Here. F to fill. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hover here. Hold control. Press R. Left click once, left click to lock that in. I'll select here, hold shift. Press F to fill. Select here, hold shift. Press F to fill. So long story short, whenever I'm holding more than one, selecting more than one edge, I'm holding shift typically. All right, so I have this here. I want this to be on the other side, so hold control, press R. Now be aware when I do this, that goes all the way up the leg. There's probably extra vertices in here. So what you can do is select everything, go to mesh, clean up. It used to be remove vertices. Now it's merged by distance. So I didn't click this yet. When I click this, near the bottom of the screen, there should be something that pops up that says this many vertices taken away. So I'm about to select it. I selected it over to the right. There's 2 vertices removed. Okay, when the 2 vertices were removed, they also were merged into the mesh. I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to hold shift as well as the middle mouse button to move the view. I roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm holding shift as well as the middle mouse button to move the view. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. Hold Alt. Left click. Press E to extrude. Right click. Go to the upper left. Go to the move tool. Pull this extrusion up. Then I'm going to press S to scale the Z-axis 0, left click, press S to scale this in. I held the middle mouse button so I could see better to push this in. So I'm going to push this in somewhat like that. Now I'm going to press E to extrude, right click, press S to scale in like this. I'm going to right click, go to loop tools, select circle. So now the circle's there. So I'll press S to scale this down like that. I'm rotating the view so I can see where the neck is at. That's why I made this be a circle, pushing this towards itself to make it more circular. I'll push this slightly forward like that. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm holding the middle mouse button. I'm going to hover here, hold control, press R. Left click once, left click a second time to put that loop cut in. I'll hover here, hold control, press R. Slightly difficult to see. I'll left click once, left click a second time, so I put in geometry there. I'll left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I put in that extra geometry as far as those edge loops so that when we put our shrink wrap modifier, I'm holding the middle mouse button, rotate to deal with this as well as this. It'll go better to the body. That being said, we'll go to the upper left, go to object mode. We're on the wrench, which is our modifier panel. We'll select here, go to shrink wrap. We'll select the eyedropper. We can see where the eyedropper says mid torso, which gives us our sculpted mesh. It's a very nice feature. I don't know if that's new to Blender. It's interesting. Anyway, yeah, so if you're hovered over your geometry, you can actually see the name. You can always, of course, go to where you can actually see the geometry. So I'll select there. So there is our mesh conforming to, our retopology mesh conforming to the sculpted mesh. I'll go back to edit mode. Selecting the hand and pan. I'm going to select this triangle here. See how this here is coming out. So what we can do is hold control, press R to put a loop cut. Now that is better. There. Left click to deselect. I'm going to put a loop cut here. See how the loop cut goes across, so this is nice because we don't have to be concerned about this going up or down. I'll put a loop cut here. I'll put another loop cut here. Holding the middle mouse button to rotate. When I put the edge loops here, I was more thinking about having the faces be more evenly spaced out than having the retopology mesh conform to the sculpted mesh as far as shape. Okay, looking here, we can hold control, press R, left click once, left click a second time to put a loop cut in there to have our retopology mesh conform more to the shape of our sculpted mesh. Okay, I'm going to roll back, hold the middle mouse button. When we look here, we can see this geometry looks kind of strange. What we're going to do is go to the upper left, go to object mode, go to the right of the screen to the shrink wrap properties, select the arrow, select apply. We'll go from here to scope mode. We'll go to the upper right of the screen to the overlay panel. Select the arrow, go to wireframe, zoom in. We can select the smooth brush, and then what we can do is left click, drag to smooth the geometry out there. I'm going to go back to the upper right of the screen, back to the overlays menu. Select there, turn off wireframe, go to object mode, turn on snapping, then go to the upper left, and then go to edit mode. So now I'm rotating my mouse to go to the side of our retopology mesh, as well as our sculpted mesh. Okay, I'm going to select here, press G, right click, select here, press G, right click, rotate the view, go to vertex select, left click to deselect, press here, select this geometry here, right click, press G, left click, working on this leg, because if I select the monitor on the mirror, you can see this is the actual geometry. I'll press G. Select there. Too much here, so I'll press C to deselect. Press C to deselect. Press G. This here I can press G. If you want more control, you can press G, move one vertex at a time. Like there's kind of like this space here I'm looking at, so I'm like, I'll press G. G. So I can manually move that how I want it to be. Similar to here, press G. 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 I'll left click to deselect, hold the mouse button to rotate the view, then zoom back. All right, zoomed back. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to the upper left, go to object mode. We're going to select the head. This is our retopology mesh. We'll hold shift, select our retopology body, hold control, press J. So you can see it turn the same color. We'll go back to the upper left, go to edit mode, zoom in, select the hand to pan. So here what we want to do, zoom into the bottom of the neck. I'll hold shift, press B to draw a zoom box to zoom right in. Okay, when this head retopology was made, there was a mirror modifier on it, then it was applied. This still has the mirror modifier not applied. So what we're going to do is go to the upper left, go to object mode. We're going to go to the mirror modifier option, select the arrow, select apply. We're going to go back to the upper left, back to edit mode. We're on vertex select. We'll select everything. We're going to go to mesh, clean up, merge by distance. We've removed 1084 vertices. So now with that done, we'll left click to deselect, go to edge select. We'll hold Alt, left click. We can see there's 26 vertices in that edge loop. I'm holding them in the mouse button to rotate. I'm holding Alt. I'm going to left click here. There's 22 vertices in this geometry. So what we'll do is we'll roll back, see where we can put an edge loop in. So we'll hold control, press R. This should be .24. Now we'll select here, control R. So now we'll zoom in, hold Alt, left click. This is 26. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate, roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold Alt as well as Shift. Select here. Zoom the mouse wheel back. Now I'm going to hold Control, press E, then select Bridge Edge Loops to connect the neck. I'm going to hold Control, press R, put in 2 loop cuts, left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. Then left click on nothingness to try to deselect. I'll go to Vertex Select now. Hold the mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to Edge Select. We're going to hold Alt to select that edge right there. I'm going to hold Control, press E. I'm going to select Mark Seam. Main reason why I did that was so I can go to Face Select, hover over the main body, press L to select the entire body with the exception of the head. Then with this done, I want to go to, looks like the triangle. I'm going to go to Vertex Groups, select plus to make a new vertex group. I'll double click here and name this body. Press Enter. I'll go to Vertex Select. Don't have to, I just chose to do that. I'll then select Assign. Okay, the reason why I did that is currently the sculpted mesh is a head as well as a body separated. I want to use the shrink wrap on here. However, if I didn't make a vertex group, I wouldn't be able to aim just for the body. So when we do this now, we want to aim just for the body. So I left click to deselect. So I'll go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'll go to the wrench, select the modifier. I'll go to shrink wrap, select the eye. Before I do this, I'm going to go to vertex group, select body. Now select the eyedropper. Now select mid torso. That selected work just on the body. I'll select here. Take a look. Go to the shrink wrap. Select here, then select apply. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to the right side of the screen to what looks like the square. We're going to select in front to take off the ability of our retopology to show through everything. I'm going to select the hand to pan up. I'm going to turn off snapping by going to the upper center of the screen. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to go towards the side of the screen. I'm going to hold, not control, hold shift, then right click to put the 3D cursor right here. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold shift, press A. This brings up our add to menu. I'm going to go to mesh, plane. Then I'm going to go to the upper left to edit mode. I'm going to go to mesh, merge at center. I'm going to go back to the upper left, go to object mode, go to the outliner menu, select here, name this hand, Retopology. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to where we see viewport display. I'm going to select in front. I'm now going to go to the upper left, then go to edit mode. Here in edit mode, I'm going to hover over this finger, hold shift, then right click. I'm going to hold shift, then press B to draw a zoom box to zoom into the hand. I'll zoom back some now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold shift, press A, then select a cube to bring in a cube. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate, go to face, select this part of the cube here, press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'll hover here, press L to select the cube, press S to scale this cube down closer to the finger. I'll press R to rotate on the X-axis. I'll push this over the finger like that, rotating to have a better view of the finger in 3D space. I'm going to go to our transformation orientation setting. I'm going to select here, change this from global to normal. When I did that, the reason why I did that is this, I can pull this face right out along how I have the cube kind of facing. So I'll pull this out just like that. With that done, I'll go back up to the transform orientation. I'll change this from normal back to the Blender default setting, which is global. I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. So what I'm looking at is trying to see if this is actually inside of the finger or the finger's inside of here. I'm going to press R to rotate on the nope. Oh, that's why. Okay. I'll press L to select the whole thing. Press R to rotate on Y axis. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift, press D, right click, move this over. I'm going to press R to rotate, just R. Pushing this in place. Hold Shift, press D, right click, move this over, just R to rotate. Shift D, right click, move this over, up, R, rotate S to scale. Press the X, that's not it. Z, that's not it. Y, there we go. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, we'll hover here, press L, hold Shift, press D, right click, move this over, move this up, press S to scale, press R to rotate. Just getting this into position. I'm rotating to make sure the fingers are in those cubes. I'll left click to deselect, go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'll go to the wrench, go to the add modifier, add a shrink wrap modifier, select the target as the hand, select the triangle, go to the upper left, then go back to edit mode. Okay, I'm going to rotate to see, it looks like they're matching up fairly well. What we're going to do is hover here, hold Control, press R, roll the mouse wheel once. To put two loop cuts in, we'll left click once, left click a second time to lock that in. We'll do the same thing again, hold Control, press R, roll the mouse wheel once, left click once, left click a second time, hold Control, roll the mouse wheel once, left click a second time. Here, hold Control, roll the mouse wheel once, left click a second time. We'll hold Control here, left click once, left click a second time, then left click to deselect. I go to vertex select. I'm going to hold Alt, then press A to totally deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode, go to the right, go to the shrink wrap modifier, select the arrow, select apply, go back to the upper left, go back to edit mode. Here in edit mode, I'm going to hover near the top of this finger, hold Shift, press B, draw a zoom box to zoom in, go to the upper left, go to vertex select. I'll select here, push this to the side. I'm doing this because I want to see the separation between this edge as well as this edge. I'm going to go to vertex select, select just this vertex. I don't want this manipulated here selected, so I'll go to the select box. I'll hold Shift, select here, press F. I'll select here, hold Shift, select here, press F. I'll now go to face select, edge select, select here, as well as here. I'll select here as well as here, then press F to fill. The reason why I did that things in that order, in the way I did them, this time I did them specifically in that order, because when I tried to select the different vertices and then fill, this face here was twisted. So if you fill this, this space and have no issues, fine. If you find that you have an issue, do as close to what you just saw me do as possible. Okay, we need to do the same thing again. I'm going to select the hand to the upper right. We actually have a space right here. So we should be able to just select here. Let's see if it works. Select here, hold Shift, select here, and then press F to fill. So it worked there. So that's good. So we'll select here, hold Shift, select here, then press F to fill. Okay, excellent. I'll left click to try to deselect. I'll hold Alt A to deselect everything. Okay, we're going to zoom back. or an edge select, we'll select here, hold shift, then select here, then we'll press F to fill. I'm going to hold Alt, then press A to deselect everything. I'm going to hold Shift, press B, draw a zoom box near the thumb. I'll select the thumb so I can zoom around the thumb. I'm going to hold Shift, press B, draw a zoom box to zoom in. So I'm going to I'll go to upper left object mode, turn on snapping, go back to the upper left, back to edit mode. You don't have to go out to object mode to turn on snapping. I choose to do it. It's not any particular benefit that I know to going out. Sometimes if you're like, why would you do it then? It kind of helps to set my mind. I kind of like separating things somehow. Anyway, with this selected here, I'm going to hold Control, then right click. I'm going to go to Vertex Select. I'm looking at this face here. I'll select here, hold Control, right click. I'm trying to give area to the thumb, like geometry for the thumb. You can see like all this like meaty part of the thumb here. So I'm kind of trying to set up for that. So I'll select here, hold shift, select here, press F to fill. I'll select here, hold shift, select here, press F to fill. Go to edge select, I'll select here, hold shift, select there, there as well as there, press F to fill. I'll select here, hold shift, select here as well as here, F to fill. I'll hold Alt, press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is zoom back, hold the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold shift, press B to draw a zoom box. Zoom in, hold the mouse button to rotate. I'll select a piece of geometry so I can rotate off of that geometry. I'm going to select this edge here, hold the mouse button to rotate, hold Control, then left click, wrong. Left click here, hold Control, that edge, there we go. I'm letting go of Control. By selecting here, then holding Control there, Blender used the shortest path technique, which selected all the geometry in between. Right now, I'm looking at this geometry here. I want to extrude this line up to here. So I'm going to hold Control, right click, let go of Control, move my mouse away from this selection so that when I scale in, I have a lot of space to scale. So I'm scaling in like that. And I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis, 0, and then left click to lock in. Okay, what I'm going to do now is we can get fill this in with a quad. So we'll hold there, hold shift, select here, here, as well as here. We'll then press F to fill that in. I'm going to hold Alt, press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to select the vertice, hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I selected the vertice so I could rotate on it. What I want to do is be able to see just the front of the hand, not the back of the hand that you see right there. So I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'll hold Alt, press B, then draw a box to hide everything but the front. So now I can see just the front here. So I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Edge Select, select here, hold Control, then select here. I let go of Control. I used Blender's shortest path technique. I'm going to hold Control, then right click. I'm going to move my mouse a decent amount away from the selection which is there, so I can press S to scale. Then I'll left click to deselect. I'll then press S to scale on the Z axis 0, then left click to deselect. I'll then hold Alt, then press B to take away what we previously had hidden. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to the Move tool. I'm going to Move this up, over. My thinking on moving this up and over is this spot right here. I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to hold Alt, press A to deselect everything. Go to vertex select. I'll select here. Hold Shift, select here, here, as well as here. Letting go of Shift. Now I'm going to press F to fill. I'm then going to left click to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate towards the side. I'm going to select here, hold Shift, then select here, here, let go of Shift. I rotate it just so I could see this vertex better. I'm going to hold Shift again, left click, press F to fill, then I'll left click to deselect. Our wrist, I know, is 12 vertices. So basically this loop has to match the 12 vertices coming from our arm. So if I hold Alt, I'll go to actually edge select. I'm going to hold Alt, left click here. See the vertices are 20. So we need to get this down to 12. So I'm going to left click to deselect. I'm going to go back to vertex select. Okay, so how do we get this down to 12 vertices? Well, see how there's 4 vertices right next to each other? One of the things we can do is we'll select here, hold Shift, then select here. So these vertices are 4 vertices if we leave them like they are. However, if we push this down like this, then select here, hold Shift, select here, as well as here, as well as here, then press F to fill. Now we have 18 vertices going across rather than 20. So I'm going to select here, mainly to rotate. We look here, we can see the same thing. We can select here, hold Shift, select here, push this down, then we'll select here, hold Shift, I'm holding Shift, we'll select here, then press F to fill. So now we have 16 vertices. Okay, we'll roll the mouse wheel to zoom back, hold the mouse button to pan. I'll select here, hold Shift, select here, push this down, select here, hold Shift, select here, press F to fill. We can change the topology later on. We do the same thing on the other side. My main concern now is getting this connected to the arm. We'll select here, hold Shift, select there, let go of Shift, then press F to fill. Then I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to zoom back, hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode, turn off snapping, go back to the upper left, go to edit mode. I'm going to go to edge select, hold Alt, select the edge. You can see we have 12 vertices, which is excellent. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis 0, then press Enter to lock that in. I'm going to pull this up some like this. Held the mouse button to rotate. I'm going to select the side here, move this to the side like that. Left click to deselect or try to deselect. I'll hold Alt A to definitely deselect. I pressed Alt A. I'm going to left click, go to object mode. I'm going to go to the modifier panel, select the mirror modifier. The hand mirrors there. So I'll go to mirror object, then select empty. I'm going to, I clicked on this just because I wanted to, because it was unhighlighted. I'm going to select the arrow, then select apply. Okay, I'm going to select the body. Oh, that's neat. So we can see right from here, I'm selected on the mid-torso, which is our sculpted mesh. I thought I was going to have to look up here, but I see right here it shows what I'm selected on. It's very nice. I'm going to, with that selected, I'm going to select the eye. I could have also pressed hide. I'm going to select the hand, hold Shift, select the retopology mesh, let go of Shift, hold Control, then press J. So now the hands are joined to the body. I'm going to select the sculpted hand. I'm going to name this high poly hand. Hide that. So with this retopology mesh selected, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. I'm on edge select, so I'll hold Alt, left click here, I let go of Alt. Now I'm holding Alt again, I'm holding Alt as well. Shift, I'll select there, I'll let go of both of them. What I'm going to do now is hold Control, press E, then select Bridge Edge Loops. So now that's actually connected. I'll select the hand to pan. I'll zoom back. I'm going to hold Shift as well as the middle mouse button to move the view. This doesn't have a mirror modifier on it. However, this is fairly easy to do. So I'm going to hold Alt, select here, hold Shift as well as Alt now, select here. Now I'm going to hold Control, then press E, select Bridge Edge Loops, then left click to deselect. I'm going to go to the upper left, then go to Object Mode. Okay, I'm going to select here, press H to hide. I'm going to zoom back, hold the mouse button to rotate. I'll select our retopology mesh, right click, then select Shade Smooth. We'll go to the upper left, then go to Edit Mode. I'll go to Phase Select, press A to select everything. Our current polygon count is 4,956 triangles. So this is a fairly low polygon count. I'll left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, we're going to put some UV seams in here. We'll go to Edge Select. UV seams allow you to do things like set up texture maps, normal maps, things like that. Typically a good way to think of setting up UV seams is to think about how seams are laid out when you wear clothes, if you look at the seams in your clothes. So I'm going to hold Alt, hold Shift, select here, still holding that, select there. I'll select here as well as here. I'm letting go of Alt as well as Shift. So that loop went all the way around, which is what I want. I'll hold Control, press E. This brings up our edges menu, or our edge menu. I'll select Make Mark Seam. Want more geometry here, so hold Control, press R, left click once, left click a second time. Control R, left click once, left click a second time. I am going to hold Alt as well as Shift, select here, let go of that, holding Alt, holding Shift. Okay, don't want this, so I'll press C, press the middle mouse button to deselect, right click to get out of paint select, and I'll hold Control, press E. This brings up our edge menu. I'll then select Mark Seam. I'll then left click to try to deselect. I'll hold Alt, hold Shift, select here. Same thing here. Let go of both. Hold Control, press E, select Mark Seam. I'll hold Alt A to deselect. I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'll hold Alt, hold Shift, select here. As well as I'll hold Alt, hold Shift, select there. Okay, so here I have what I want selected, but then also geometry that I do not want selected. So I'll go to the upper right, select Toggle X-Ray. I'll press C for Paint Select. And then where I see geometry that I don't want an edge, I'll deselect it. Right click, get out of paint select. I'll toggle the X-ray to go back. Zoom in. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'll select here, press H to hide that, select the head, go back to the upper left, go back to edit mode. I'll press C for paint select. Hold the middle mouse button to deselect. Right click. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate, press C. Hold the middle mouse button to deselect. Right here, C, press the middle mouse button to deselect. C, press the middle mouse button to deselect, then I'll hold Control, press E, then select Mark Seam. Okay, I'll hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Some areas that I didn't want. So here, so I'll select here. The manipulator's in the way, so I'm going to the upper left. I'm going to hold Shift, select here. Hold Shift, I'm trying to see. Select here as well as here, as well as here. Zoom back, and then just like we put the seams there, we can hold Control, press E, and then we can select Clear Seam. So now those seams are gone. Very similar to here as well. Hold Shift. So I'll hold Control, press E, select Clear Seam. To the upper right to move the view. Okay, I'll zoom in. Select the hand to the upper right. I'll hold Alt as well as Shift to select here, as well as here. Select here, as well as there. Then I'll hold Control, press E, select Mark Seam. Left click to try to deselect. Okay, I'm going to select the hand to pan down. See, I made a mistake right here. I'll select here, hold Control, press E, then select Clear Seam. Left click to deselect or try to deselect. To hold Alt, press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to Face Select. I want to select just the arm in the UV seam. So this works with Face Select. So I'll press L, hold the middle mouse button, then I'll press L. Hold the middle mouse button, press L, hold the middle mouse button, press L. I'm going to press H to hide those arms. If you don't want to select just in the seams, remember you can use vertex select or edge select. I hid the arms because what I want to do is put a loop cut here and then put a seam separating the top of the hand from the bottom of the hand. So I'll hold Control, press R. Left click once, left click a second time. I'll hold Control, press E, select Mark Seam. Then I'll hold Alt, press A to deselect. Hold Control, press R. Left click once, left click a second time. Hold Control, press E, then select Mark Seam. I'll then hold Alt, press A to deselect. Hold Alt, press H to bring back our previously hidden geometry. Then I'll hold Alt, press A to deselect. I'm going to zoom back. Let's select here. Hold Control, then select here, as well as here. We'll hold Control, press E, then select Mark Seam. Then I'll hold Alt, press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold Alt as well as Shift. I'll left click here. I'll go to upper right to select the hand. Okay, I don't like that, so I'm going to hold Alt, press Shift. Actually, I'm going to hold Alt, select here. What I'm going to do is go to the upper right to select the X-ray. I'll go to Vertex Select, press C for Paint Select. I'll deselect. We've dealt with the hands and all this. We don't need this geometry. Holding the middle mouse button to deselect, by the way. I'll right click to deselect. Go back to the X-ray. I'll turn that off now. Okay, I'll hold the middle mouse button to take a look. Seems good. I'll hold Control. I'll press E. This brings up our edge menu. I'll select Mark Seam, then left click to try to deselect. Okay, we're almost done here. I'm going to hold Shift, press B to draw a zoom box to zoom in. I'm going to hold Alt, hold Shift. If you only wanted to do this for each leg once, you could put a mirror modifier on here, and that would have effectively, made it so you didn't have to do this on each leg. I'm gonna hold them in the mouse button, just letting you know. I'm going to press C for Paint Select. I'll select there. I'll right click to get out of Paint Select. I'll hold Control, press E, then select Mark Seam. I'll hold Alt, press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to zoom back, select the hand to pan. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the lower right, sorry. So we have this body vertex group here. So this is the body. This is important. Because it lets us put a shrink wrap modifier just on the body. To add a vertex modifier, I'm going to, while I need to be on face select. So I'll hover here, press L. Hover here, I'll press L. Press L. Press L. Then I'll select the plus button. Name this hands. Then I'll select assign. Then left click to deselect. I think I'm deselected. Okay, we're going to stay on face select. I'm going to hold Shift as well as the middle mouse button to move down. It's just like selecting the hand. I'll hold Shift, press B to draw a zoom box. So what we want to do is we're going to select the head, right? But we want to deselect some of the loops next to the eyes. So we're going to hold Alt, hold Shift, deselect here, deselect here. Letting go. Alt, holding Alt as well as Shift again. Didn't want that. So I'll press C to reselect that. I'm going to hold Alt, hold Shift to get rid of the loop there. I think I want to press C. I'm pushing the middle mouse button to deselect the next loop up, not a total loop. How do I know to do this? Because of practicing, basically. I have an idea of what needs to be done. So with that selected there, we actually don't want the neck selected. So we'll press N. We'll select View Global / Local. I'll hold Shift, press B. Now what this did is this brought us into a mode where we only see what we're working on. So if you look to your upper left, you can see User Perspective Local. We're in a special mode where we only see the retopology mesh. I did that because there was a piece of the neck like covered up. So what I want to do is press C. I want to deselect the neck here. I came out of Paint Select. I'm pressing C. I'm holding the middle mouse button to deselect. I'm right clicking to come out of. C, press C. Because I do not want the neck selected. And this is good because I didn't know that the back of the head wasn't selected. Okay. So I'm going to select View Global / Local to come out of local mode. I'm going to go to the plus, double click, name this head, then select Assign. Okay, I'm going to hold Alt, press A. So why did I do all that? What I'm going to tell you here is very important. Right now, the polygon count is 5,172. It's 5,172 triangles. If you need low poly geometry, I would advise you not do this next step. I want there to be more detail to the mesh. So I'm going to add a subdivision surface. It's going to bring this up to probably higher than 20,000 polygons. Generally, when I'm working on a character, 30,000, I'm good with 30,000 polygons. So I'm just letting you know if you want to keep your character fairly low, don't do this next step. However, the steps as far as what we're about to do with the shrink wrap and the vertex group we made, you can do that. But if you don't want your polygon count to go substantially up, just don't apply your subdivision surface modifier. Okay, so what we're going to do is go to the upper left, go to object mode. We're going to go to the wrench. We're going to add subdivision surface modifier. Okay, we're going to bring back our high poly, which was called mid torso. So now we're going to add I'm going to select this triangle. We're going to add a shrink wrap modifier. We're going to duplicate this shrink wrap modifier. And we're going to duplicate it again. So we have 3 groups, right? This first one, we'll start with the body. So the vertex group is going to be the body. So this is only going to affect the body. At least it should only affect the body. So we'll select the target as being the mid torso, right? So now what we want is let's do the hands. So high poly hand, there we go. So we'll bring that, right? So we'll select vertex group, hands. Select the eyedropper, high poly hand. Excellent so far. Okay, what we want to do now is scroll down, select the vertex group head. We're going to go up to high poly face, select the eye towards the upper right to turn that on. We're going to go for the eyedropper for the target. We're going to select high poly face. So now we're going to scroll up I have this option here to apply all, which I'm about to use. I want you to know that you can go to the arrow here and then click apply and just go down through the list. I'm going to select apply all. So now all of those modifiers have been applied. Okay, as far as setting up the vertex groups, one thing I want you to be aware of is the reason why I did that was because the head as well as the body were separated, as well as the hands. If the sculpted mesh is all one connected piece, you do not have to go and make the vertex groups like you saw me do. It's because the hands were separate. The head was connected, but there's things with the neck. So I just want you to understand that it's not a necessary thing if you have a full sculpted mesh to set up the vertex groups and all that. Okay, with that being said, let's hide the high poly hand, high poly face, as well as the mid torso. Here's the neck here. We'll hide that. So we'll select our sculpted mesh. We'll go to edit mode. So I'm on face select. On face select, I'll press A to select everything. So our polygon count, our triangle count is 20,680 triangles. I tend to shoot for about 30,000 for main characters. So we still have almost 10,000 more polygons that we could add on. How I work with characters. So I'm going to hold Alt, then press A. Also take note of the fact that we put a subdivision surface modifier applied it. Our UV seam still remained as well. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and rotate the view. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'm going to go to UV editing. This is from another tutorial where I was working on the face. I'll select X to get rid of that. What we're going to do is put a normal map on this so that this has the appearance of having all of the detail of the original sculpted pieces. So what we want to do is make sure we're on face select, then press A to select everything. Again, this is from previous work there. With this all selected, what we can do is press U, and then this brought up our UV mapping menu. We're then going to select unwrap. Okay, so now you can see our mesh unwrapped here. Okay, what we want to do now is go to the middle part of the screen. By the way, this UV editing, these tabs up here, you don't have to use these tabs. These tabs are here to make work in Blender easier to do. I'm going to go here to the middle part of this first screen to the left. Select New. This is set for 1024. I find that normal maps tend to work better with higher resolution. So what I'm going to do is double this. So this is 1024. I'm going to change this to 2048. Same thing for this, 2048. I'm going to name this normal. Then I'm going to select OK. The color really isn't important. The normal map is going to cover over that color that you see there. In Blender, it's important to know that when you work with textures, textures are separate pictures that are generally stored outside of Blender. There's a way of storing them inside of Blender, but generally you want to save these pictures in a folder where you know where that folder is at. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Image, Save As. We're going here. I know where this folder's at. To make a folder, I'm going to name this Textures folder, I'm going to double click on here. This is our normal picture. So we're clicking save as image. So now this is saved in that folder outside of Blender. Okay, so we name this normal. However, since we're here, we can save some other textures that we need. So I'm going to go to image, save as. This takes us right to the folder we were just working with. I'm going to name this ambient occlusion. Click save as image. If you see subtle changes sometimes with how things are laid out, sometimes there's editing in between sections of the video. Okay, I'm going to make one more picture. I'm going to go to image, save as. I'm going to name this combined, then select save as image. Okay, if you see me doing this stuff and you're like, why is he doing this stuff? In Blender, as well as other 3D programs, there are ways of taking very high geometry mesh detail and then applying that to lower geometry mesh detail. That's what the normal map is for. Typically, when you are working with 3D, it tends to help to have darker shading around some of the edges of your 3D. That's kind of, or generally what the ambient occlusion is for. The combined is the basic color of the mesh. Okay, so what we're going to do is, the plan is for us to bake these textures. Currently, we have been going to the upper right, in Eevee. To bake textures, we need to go to cycles. So I'm going to select the arrow and then select cycles. Eevee is Blender's real-time rendering engine. Cycles is another rendering engine. It's not real-time. It is the engine in Blender that allows you to bake textures, at least how things currently are. Cycles also tends to make things look very beautiful. Though generally we're actually coming to cycles because cycles is what we need to use to bake the textures that we want to use. Okay, so we're going to go to our shading tab. So this sets things up. So this is kind of strange here. This is some previous work is what you're seeing there. So what I am going to do is go to the right of the screen, lower right. I'm going to take off the materials that you see there. I'm now going to select new towards the right. So what I need to bake is I'm going to go to add texture, image texture. So I have this image texture right here. I'm going to click here. Okay, I don't see. I'm looking for the normal map. So I'll go to open textures folder, select normal, and then select open. Okay, what you see here to the side, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to move this to the side. Select X, that's from previous work. I'm going to zoom in. What we want to do is unhide our high poly work. This camera represents, lets things render. So you want to have that camera on as well. So in here, I turned on the high poly hand, the high poly face, as well as the mid torso. Okay, so with that done, what I want to do is go to this, the second button here in this menu here. See this bake here? What we want to do for now is select normal. Now you can bake multiple maps. It's important that you have the last thing selected be your low poly mesh or your retopology mesh. So I'm going to the right. I'm hovering to pull this arrow down. So what we want to do is select our high poly face. Let's start here. Our high poly hand, I'll hold shift. Select our high poly face. I'm holding shift, right? I'm zooming back because I'm going to try to select a piece of the high poly mesh. I'm going to hold shift, left click. Okay, good. I did that. So now, lastly, we need to select the retopology, which you can see right here. I'm going to hold shift, left click. Excellent. Okay, if you're like, why is that excellent? Sometimes when you're trying to select things here as well as here, the things in between get selected. At least that's what has happened to me in the past. You want to select just what you need and then have this selected last, right? With all of that done, with your bake set to normal, you also want this selected to active set. For your extrusion, you want to have this set to 0.5. The max ray distance, 0.5. At least that's what works well for me. These settings deal with the difference between your high poly mesh as well as the low poly mesh, kind of like how you can see like the meshes showing through each other. Okay, with all that set, you want to have this image texture selected, right? Without it being connected to anything else. So these two nodes can be connected. However, this you do not want connected to anything. You want this to be selected. You can tell that this is selected because it's highlighted, right? With all of that done, what you can do is select bake. Okay, we can see the normal map here. For the most part, it looks good. There's some issues here, but this is the normal map here. So with the normal map, what you want to do is select these three lines, go to image, save as. I'm going to save right over the other image normal map. Very important that you save that normal map. Okay, because we have our objects in the selected order they need to be selected in, we're going to go to bake type. We're going to change this to ambient occlusion. These settings are going to stay the same. Selected to active, 0.5 for extrusion, 0.5 for max ray distance. We are going to go to this image texture node, select here, then select ambient occlusion, select open image, and then we're going to select bake. Okay, now we have our ambient occlusion here. Looks good. I'm going to select the three lines. Go to image. Save as. Save as image. Okay, what we want to do is bake a combined texture, basically bringing the texture as well as the color you see from here. This was done in another tutorial. I'll put a link up so you can get to that tutorial if you're like, why is that in another tutorial? It's the tutorial that same tutorial or one of the tutorials that we used to get this sculpted mesh in the first place. So that's what it is. For this combined to work, we need to go to our high poly hand, select that, select materials, select minus to take away the material, select new to bring a new material in. we'll go to high poly face. We're going to go to the arrow to the right, select here, copy the material. So we're copying the material that you see here. We're going to the high poly hand. This is the material. You can see it's gray. We're going to select the arrow, then select paste the material. So basically we took this material and applied it to the hand. Now with that done, we need to select the hand, hold shift, select the high poly face. We'll select the, I'm going over here rather than here in here, the outliner, because I want to select just what I'm selecting. I don't want anything in between being selected. So I'm going to left click. So we got that. So now I'm going right to this white to select that body retopology. So we have that. Okay, with all that done, we're going to scroll up. Then we're going to select Blender properties. Okay, we need to turn this bake type from ambient occlusion to combined. This pops up. These settings stay the same. These settings stay the same. Select it to active, 0.5 for extrusion, 0.5 for max ray distance. We need to go to the image texture, click the folder icon so we can see the combined. This is from before practicing for this. Then we'll select open image. So with all of that set up, now we'll select bake. Okay, now we can see our image texture here. We'll select the 3 lines, go to image, save as, then select save as image. Okay, with all of that done, we'll go back to the lower right. We're going to go from cycles back to Eevee. I'm going to select the layout tab. Okay, we're going to hide the high poly hand, the high poly face, the mid torso. We're going to, these clothes were made in another tutorial. The link should be, I'll put the links up so you can get to that. So this is the body without the normal map. Pay particular attention to here. What we're going to do is go to shading. Select the hand and pan up. So to set up the normal map, We have this image texture here. We're going to go to color space. We're going to change this to non-color. All right. I'm going to move this to the side. We need to bring in a normal map node. So we're going to go to add vector. There's normal as well as normal map. You want the normal map. You're going to go from color to color. And then you're going to go from normal to normal. See how this looks strange? Even though this says normal, you might have to go in here and then select normal. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I'll go back. Select normal. There we go. Still not. Okay, went back to color space. So that's okay. So you can see when I go from normal to normal. Okay, yeah, particularly if you, well, throughout the whole model. So I select normal to normal. You can see the detail come in. Okay, so be careful that even though if this says normal, you might have to select here, then select normal again to make sure that the normal map is showing. This is the setup. I'm not sure why Blender did that for me. I just wanted to let you know about that. Okay, so with that setup, the normal map is showing. Now what we want to do is go to add texture, image texture. Then we want to go to open textures folder, select combined, open the image. Held the middle mouse button to move that down, by the way. So we'll go from color. Oh, before we do that, see this non-color? What we want to do is change this to sRGB. So we'll go to base color. Okay, so now we have the base color there as well. And that's the combined color. Okay, as far as using the ambient occlusion, we'll go to add texture, image texture, open textures folder, ambient occlusion. So what we want to do here, I just rolled the mouse wheel to zoom back, is we're going to go to add color, mix RGB. We're going to disconnect the combined. Now this says normal, this is combined. I'm not sure why Blender is showing this as normal. Don't let this confuse you. This is the combined PNG. However, it says normal. Anyway, we're going from base color to color 1. Then we're going to go from the color of the ambient occlusion to color 2. The mix here, right? This is how you blend these colors together. We want to change this to multiply. This color here is affected by this factor. When we turn this factor all the way up, the bottom color, which is the ambient occlusion, is fully turned up. However, even though it's fully turned up, because it has a multiply blend mode on it, it'll blend with this color. So this is what you want. So what we're going to do is take the color from here, go to the color of the base color, I'll zoom in here so you can see the face. So see how the face looks? I'm going to take the factor all the way up. It's subtle. However, if you look around the eyes particularly, when I take the factor down, and then I take the factor up, you can see the ambient occlusion coming, working there. Okay, I'm going to go back to the layout mode. I'm going to go to the outliner, turn on her shirt. This NURBS path should be her hair. Okay, what I'm going to do is go to the upper right, select the hand to move the view up. I'm going to go to the outliner, select round cube.001. Select the shoe. That's what I did when I went over there. I unhid the shoe. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. I'm going to press A to select everything. I'm going to use a special kind of scale by holding Alt S. I can make things fatter. I'll select 0.1, then press Enter to lock that in. Left click to deselect. Then go back to the upper left, back to object mode. I'll then left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to select the shoe, push it forward slightly. We are just about done. There is an issue with the neck. This is something that happened from when I did the ambient occlusion as well as the combined. I hid I'm pretty sure it's from when I hid the neck shape. I'm going to show you how to fix that. We're going to use Gimp, free image manipulation program, open source. So this is Gimp here. This is the combined texture. I'll hold control and roll my mouse so you can see it. So this is the combined texture brought into Gimp. This is the layer panel. Gimp is very similar to Photoshop. I'll right click, select duplicate layer. You can download Gimp for free, by the way. I'm going to hold control. I'm going to go to, you can go to, it looks like, when you come into Gimp, you'll see the clone brush, right? You can use the heal brush or the clone brush. I'm going to use the clone brush. Here is the issue area. I want to take what's underneath my brush, move that to here, or paint that to there. So I'll hold Control, left click. So now I'll just go over that, not just, but go over that. I will go to the healing brush. Same thing, go here, hold Control, left click. So then the healing brush does kind of the same thing. It just blends in better. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to go to File, Export As. You export out of Gimp to get things out of Gimp. Not save most of the time anyway. So I didn't save over the old one. I just went to the side of that. Like I saved a different combiner picture. So we'll go here. Pretty much the same thing. I'll right click, select duplicate. I duplicate just in case I make a mistake and can always go back to the original. Hold Control, roll the mouse to zoom in. I'll hold the middle mouse button to pan. I still have the healing brush. I'll hold Control, left click. So same thing. I'm going over this spot here. That should be good. I'm going to go to File, Export As. Very similar to what I did before. I'll press 1, select Export, export again. Go back to Blender. Okay, what we're going to do now is select our body retopology. We're going to go to shading. We're going to go to the, what should be the combined picture. We're going to change this to our corrected picture. Select open image. Same thing for ambient occlusion. The corrected one, select open image. So now with that done, we'll go back to layout. Now we can see the neck looks much better. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do is go to our overlay menu and then turn on wireframe. I'll zoom in. So these are the clothes made in another tutorial. You can see our retopology mesh here. After the original sculpted mesh was made, I think that was over 400,000 polygons. What you see in front of you, not counting the hair, is somewhere around 20,000, maybe in between 20 to 25,000 polygons, I would assume. So yes, what you see in front of you is geometry that can be used for animation. You could come in, you could use some of the techniques shown in the video to make the topology work even better as far as animation. However, what you have here, you should be able to use this for animation. Okay, congratulations, you made it to the end of the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who are new to the channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.